Observe what is happening with the floods and the blowback of the floods and devastation. Also, we should be having this bracing reminder that hunger also is looming. So you should be bracing for it. This is what is on the front page of the East African. And due to torrential rains that have killed about 500 people in East Africa and destroyed infrastructure that will take billions to repair, experts further predict food shortages, blamed on destruction of farmland in the bread baskets. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the week's publication of East African. And you can see the devastation there. But I want to show you also another devastation that is happening right now, that the rains have revealed what is happening beneath the earth as well. And we'll go back to the Rift Valley, where key infrastructure, including roads, power lines, and water supply, have been cut off in parts of Rongai and Nakuru West after the heavy rains. Water exposed deep fissures and cracks from past volcanic activity around Nakuru city and its environs, known for a history of volcanic activity. The residents are in fear of imminent danger, and those especially from Kwamaiko area, which borders Barut. Sand mines have been urged to move out following landslides that have cut off links roads. Ken Petru has more.
You will be forgiven for mistaking these deep gullies for a dry riverbed, but 4 days ago this was a busy road leading to the residential Kabasis estate in Rongai. Following heavy rains, the road has developed deep gullies, making the area inaccessible on this route by any means.
From Tuesday, Monday last week hapa palikuwa panapitika, lakini kutokana na mvua ambayo imezidi tunakaa na wasiwasi sana, kwa sababu huwezi jua siku itakayofuata itakuwaje.
The gullies continue to expand every day, leaving some of the homes and schools on the edge. Water network and power lines have already been damaged.
Maji haya yameweza kuchanganyika na maji taka, na isitoshe pia pipe zingine ama mifereji zingine za maji zimeweza kupasuka. So watu wa area hii pia hawapati maji. Miti za stima zimeweza kuanguka na zikaweza kuzama kwa hizo shimo. Kenya Power walikuja juzi na tujapata response yao ya kutosha kwamba watakuja kutengeneza lini.
In the neighboring Kware village, the situation is the same. Some of the homes are no longer accessible, with the residents only hoping that no further damage on their land will happen.
Ile mvua ilinyesha Wednesday ndio hii ilichimbika sana. Hata hatulali, hatutoki, hata kama yule unaona hawezi toka kwake. Unaona huyu hawezi toka kwake. Hii shimo imetuangaisha, hata nyinyi mnaona hii hatuwezi. Kwa mikono yetu hatuwezi, mpaka walete mainjinia.
Naomba Mungu atusaidie, mtu sahi asikae mgonjwa ile ya kupebwa. Hakuna mahali tunatokezea tufike kwa lami.
The gullies have been linked to past volcanic activity around here, with the large water volumes from higher grounds exposing the loose volcanic soil with ease.
Kuna wakati hii maji inakuja mpaka inapotelea chini, na hatujui mahali inaenda. Na hapa vile mchanga iko nyepesi, hatujui kama tutavewa ama tutafunikwa kama maimai.
Watume hata wale specialist watuambie ground iko na shida gani, kwa sababu hii kiroboni yetu uwezi unalala kesho unaamuka kuna shimo kwa mlango yako, na hata mchanga si atilibebwa iliteremka. Sasa inaenda wapi?
This comes as residents and traders at Kwamaiko Trading Center in Nakuru West were urged to move out following landslides in the adjacent Barut sand mines. On the floor of this shop next to the mines, a crack that appears endless has developed, leaving the owner in fear.
Kini jana ilisidi zaidi na ikanyesha na ikapomoka paka ikafunga lori mbili hapa na tinga.
Ukiangalia hii barabara yetu ya kutoka Barut connect kwenda kwa Maiko ikielekea direct mpaka kule Pwani, sasa usafiri imekatishwa.
Kuna daraja inaitwa iko Barut huko, kuna ingine ya Mwariki na kuna ingine ya Soimet ishaja. Alafu sasa kuna ya Kapkures ambayo iko halfway.
Ken Gashuhi, KTN News.
All right, these are new realities that we need to contend with, and in terms of compensation, where do we begin even to, of course, seek compensation? Which authority do we need to, of course, go to? These are some of the sharpest edges of the holes of dilemma that now wananchi are caught up in with the latest development. But I just wanted to, in reaction to just the story that you've seen, and what devastation this will do maybe to the farmlands Now we're having rifts, your houses as well. Insurance will not really come in handy because they say, oh, this is a what? Is force majeure, is an act of God. How then do we respond to such situations? Because we've seen also farmlands being eroded away, and now this is just a precipitation, so to speak, of looming hunger, because as it is, our farmlands are waterlogged. We cannot prepare for maybe preparation of planting season as well, and harvest, if we were expecting any, that has been swamped and that has been devastated. So you were in the Agriculture Committee.
Yes.
I think this should be, first of all, your first port of call on, maybe, I don't know, if your committee is more on the reactive side or also maybe on, what do we normally call it, on the forewarning side as well. Right? So it is more of reaction, or how then can we prepare amicably for what is ahead as well? Because I think we should be preparing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, you know,
in terms of response, because yes,
the many other countries flooded. I'll give you a good example of America, around Dallas State. You know, there was serious flooding, some of it which has never been seen or has never been expected. And, you know, out of good planning, early warning, you know, no one died. You know, dogs, people, you know, moved to safety by people who are, you know, equivalent of our national disaster management team. And, you know, weather forecast is there, and some of these things will be expected. Now, when you come to Kenya, we have seen power lines, you know, interacting with water. And you know, water conducts electricity. That poses a danger to people, you know. So we need preparedness on that particular one. Then you have, you know, you have seen, we have built a lot in a riparian land. You know, we have built on riverbeds, just like the biblical person who built on riverbed and another one built on the rock. And surely when the rains come, you know your house will go. So some investors have gone on to build on riverbeds, and they have sold these houses to people at a watch of government. And when I say government, I mean government enjoys perpetual succession. You know, even when you change the president, the technocrats of government remain there. So there has been a big problem in terms of that particular, you know, issue and planning. When we got the weather forecast that it was going to rain heavily, obviously we are also going to have you know, a La Nina thing. We are going to have a dry spell. As a nation, we have not prepared to store water for you know, for dry season. A lot of water has come all over. Then in a few months there will be no water, you know, out of poor planning. And that's why Honorable Mugatana was talking of the Grand Force Dam, which would have
the high force,
which is somewhere between Kitui and Tharaka. It was planned the days of President Kibaki.
You know, Dan Maanzo, what I'm asking is,
yes.
Yeah, I know, now these are plans you tell, but what I'm asking you as a planning committee, as an agriculture committee,
yes,
isn't it at high time that you should be calling up the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority and asking them what plans do they have moving forward, since now there's anger which is looming because of its effects, right? And the various authorities, the National Disaster Management Authority, I don't know if also that is within, or even NCPB, now that we have,
I was just
we're shuffling of chairs there.
And I want to tell you, as an agriculture committee, we are almost of insignificance on this. You know, it's a bigger thing. We only deal with the agricultural aspect of things, but clearly as a committee of parliament and as the houses, we should point out the general planning of the country. I'm just saying there is a failure to plan for future. You see in the biblical times, Joseph planned during the days of great harvest, and there was storage. And they prepared for, I'm just saying we were not well prepared for this disaster generally. That is the truth. You know, if you look at a project like Thwake Dam, this is the time it would have been filled with water. But with the construction going up to 90%, the whole project was almost being swept away. But I kept on reminding the engineers, and the engineers kept on checking that. I kept on telling them, I've seen this river as I grew up, and it floods very badly once in a while. Similarly to this construction in the river here, just in Machakos, you know, most houses in Nairobi and in some of the developments are submerged. Some of the flats, the ground floors, are submerged. Cars were submerged. This is poor planning generally by the government, because how do you allow people to build on riparian river? But also the people have a responsibility. How do you go and build a house which you are going to sell to others or on a riverbed, like in Athi River in this case? And we kept on warning them. We have seen this river flood over the last 20 years once in a while. And you are built on the riverbed, and surely that estate next to the river, even whereby water is guarded by a wall, there's no way you will build a wall to stop a river. And that's why all those houses found themselves submerged. The projects which should not have been done next to the river. I believe in Michuki's time, this would not have happened. But currently, you know, you have ministers responsible for this. What are they doing? You have a minister responsible for agriculture. You have a minister responsible for environment. You have a minister responsible for roads. You know, Dibal, one of my Mayo, the biggest problem, and it also occurred in Ukambani where we did the new railway. You see, the engineers directed water from their natural courses, and where they went to cause the water to go in, it will come and block. It will cause confusion. So even as engineers do these constructions, we need to take care of the days there will be flooding. How will you deal with the railway situation, with the new dams they have created? So there will be blockages, then the water will amass, then the blockage will go through, and that's how even you saw people getting swept in Sultanahmud and Maimayu. So Maimayu is actually not really a disaster as such. There was lack of preparedness. And even up to today, you know, the Deputy President went there and said this is an act of God. They abandoned the people. So many people are missing, and we do not see a government effort despite all these 10 billion shillings, which is supposed to be helping with disaster management. The people have been abandoned to look for their missing people. So that problem also occurred in Makueni, in Kilome, and those areas where the railway has gone through, whereby they have created new pathways for water, and the exits have not been well calculated. And that has really affected, the general flooding and even the safety of the railway line itself. So I think we need to plan better in future. We have learned with this disaster, and we need to plan to store water, so that when we have so much water like this, we store it for a day, there is no water, and we can use it for agriculture. Now farms are submerged. We are going to have a poor harvest in some of the, places where we make a lot of food. But now we're going to have a poor harvest because the farms are waterlogged, they are submerged. Definitely there's going to be a low yield out of that. Then now we are going to have a dry spell, but then we will not be irrigating. So I think the general planning of the nation should be such that it is futuristic. Let the people who are doing the housing projects, they have to calculate well so that you don't block waterways. Like what you saw in Thika Road. Thika Road was well designed, but the people who do development just next door, they create a dam to Thika Road, and you can no longer use such an infrastructure. So basically, in my submission, I think that we need to be smarter. Our people should not have died of water. You have seen the president gone to Madare. People are building next to the river. Why don't you give the river is a fair space, and then construction is done fairly far away from the river, and the government controls that. So in my thinking, government which enjoys perpetual succession, government after government has failed. And the biggest contribution of this is corruption.
Thank you. For
somebody to be allowed to build on riparian land, some corruption, the designers, the people, people do the approving in City Hall, and all those places, and many other, riparian areas like Athi River. Why would the government allow people to sell land which is riparian? First of all, allocate that land, give it a title. knowing very well it's a public land. And then people build there. Now they have lost their lifetime investments. Who is going to compensate them? So I think if a mass suit is done against the government, if Kenyans who have been affected unfairly,
classic action suit.
yes, a serious classic action. Even if the people have done contributory negligence, the government is more negligent and should be able to compensate these people so that they can have their homes back.
So in the multi or the all government approach to this situation, and we were discussing here, and we found out that there is no ministry that is dedicated as a special programs ministry like we had before, that was being headed by Naomi Shaban and the likes as well previously. If we are to follow up on maybe the progress and what is happening on the ground, and you have that particular amendment now in your standing orders that the CSS can appear before the chambers or before Parliament, whom do we go to? Who is a go-to person? Because now we have an all-government approach, which is the face of all-government approach.
So from even before I come to that point, I wanted to make this point that and use this.
I think earlier on also you're mulling over the National Harvest and Storage facility that I'd asked you. Maybe will be a good time also you can chime in on that.
Yeah, I wanted Kenyans listening to me and the government officials listening to me this morning to very quickly rearrange the budgets. Governors must now rearrange the budgets so that they can prioritize the emergencies. You know, we must have supplementary budgets very quickly in all the counties that are affected. The governors should be seated now with their officials, look at the requirements and see where they can cut, where they can put in the money so that there is a response. It will be a very unfortunate thing to happen that as a governor, you run away from your county, come to Nairobi and start lamenting. And when you are asked, what have you done as a government? You have no answer to that. You're just coming to say, we need the president to help us. We need international community to help us. We need Red Cross and other local NGOs to help us. What have you done? So I would request governors who are affected, including my own governor in Tana River County, that this is the time to reorganize budgets, to sit with your MCAs, explain the situation. If they are out, you recall them to have special sittings so that you can discuss the way forward. And then when you say, okay, we have said we can only raise maybe 20 million or 50 million or 100 million for this purpose, then this, we are allocating it this way in the various wards that are badly affected, and you are transparent about it, then you can come to Nairobi and say, we need this amount of money and this other amount of money. And I would also request the national government also to rearrange its priorities. Now we are in an emergency situation, we must find money. Because even when you are going to donors, you should be able to say, this is what we have been able to do locally, but we still need this and the other, so that when they are coming, they can see the effort that you have already put in this emergency that we are facing. Number two, we are living in a new reality now. The new reality is that water is part and parcel of our lives. For the next few weeks, we are going to be literally in water. So Kenyans must now accept the new reality that we are actually going to be receiving rains in the afternoon. We are going to be wet. You might wake up in your house and it is, wet. These realities are there. So if these realities are there, how do we prepare? Now that psychologically then you need to start looking at a way of either abandoning those areas that are prone to this danger and living with relatives or whatever for the short time that is there, or you leave those places altogether. And this new reality also means that government must take planning seriously. You know, in more developed economies, planning is a very, very serious. It's so serious that even cutting a tree down, you have to get a permit for it. You know, now construction is so regulated that you don't have this kind of overcrowding, and even constructions that are next to water, the natural waterways. And we need to now enforce, because some of those regulations and laws are already in existence in City Hall, but we need now enforcement mechanism. Number 4, there's need of everyone now can see the natural waterways, so there's need to dredge these waterways in such a way that it's deep enough for everybody to know that whether it's dry or whether it hasn't rained or whether it is raining, this is the path of the river, because sometimes it is so dry that people cannot tell. So we need heavy dredging and clear markings so that the Nairobi River, everyone can see this is where it is, whether there's rain or there's no rain. And people shouldn't build next to it for maybe 100 meters this way, 100 meters this way, 50 meters, depending on the realities of the area where the river is passing. But we need to dredge, we need to enforce regulations. And it is bitter, but it is safer than to lose lives. You know, if this has to be done, it has to be done now. And it's better we do it now, we swallow the bitter pill now, than to wait for lives to be lost. So I'm praying that the county governments that are affected will now, first of all, do supplementary budgets, reorganize their expenditures to deal with the emergency, and then follow that with very strict enforcement of constructions and approvals along the natural waterways. Then have a budget to dredge these waterways so that everybody can see them and everybody knows them, whether there is rain or no rain. And if this can be part of us, can be part of our mental understanding of our environment, then we are most likely not to suffer devastating losses as we have right now. Because if the water has its ways, it has its way to pass, it doesn't come out to destroy. But if the water does not have its way, if it goes and it meets, it has a block, it will force.
It is just reclaiming its way.
For us who live in the areas where water is part and parcel of our lives, you cannot fight with water. We have a very healthy respect for water. In fact, when you hear water is coming, like in some of our areas, we have flash floods. Mtu akiambiwa, don't cross because the river has started coming. Any person with that natural, kama umelelewa hiyo area, you know you can't cross. You have to wait. Once you hear the noises, there are certain noises which people make. You can't cross. You have to wait until the river subsides when we have flash floods. So we need to be now more aware of our environment and enforce the laws that help us to live with our natural environment.
So the Senate is not in recess. Are you in recess?
No, we are
not yet.
But we should.
But the National Assembly should be going.
Yeah.
Do you think we should be having a special sitting to address this particular issue? Because we've not had a special sitting to talk about the situation on the ground. You, as a National Assembly, talking about a supplementary budget. I mean, is it okay? It's going maybe within your calendar, but should we be having a special sitting?
Yes.
Don't you think it should
opinion,
call for one?
I think the House should be recalled.
Yes.
Definitely, what has happened in the whole country is absurd, and very immediate, action has to be taken. I want to agree with Senator Mugatana that we have to reorganize the budget quickly. Supplementaries have to be made. The whole government plan has to change so that, for example, to accommodate schools, you see most schools have been submerged in water. Most schools use pit latrines. There is a likelihood of outbreak of diseases, and therefore even this fight with the doctors should stop with immediate effect. The government should now agree with the doctors because the Kenyans need doctors back to their stations to deal with, disease outbreaks likely to happen. And then before even you open the schools, there must be an inspection to make sure that every school is safe. No child of Kenya should die out of further negligence of decisions of the government. There are pit latrines likely to sink. So if pit latrines are also full of water and the classrooms need to be cleaned, repaired, where there was severe wind, roofs have been blown off, and even the 1 billion shillings President Ruto has given may not be enough. That's why the National Assembly should come back, have a special sitting to deal with this and rearrange its holiday. Similarly, with the Senate, we need to adjourn, have an adjournment motion to discuss, this current crisis and give government and the county governments a way forward. And therefore, especially when it comes to schools and safety of children, the government should be, should give it priority. The schools should be prepared, as quickly as possible. And I believe now time which has been lost should be recovered later. But the child has to be safe. Children should not be put into danger by their own government, by wrong decisions, by failure to consult. The government should be running everywhere, every single school in the country, to make sure that the infrastructure has been put back. And it's a time also we should watch out on corruption. You've heard the president say, we're going to give every family 10,000 shillings for you to relocate. First of all, that's not enough. Secondly, once that money is released, through what system? How will you account and make sure every family which was affected got the 10,000? Most of the money is likely to be lost on the way. This is the time criminals reap when there is a crisis, and the government has to be on the watch out on that. So the priority goes to schools. Secondly, the people whose homes have been damaged, they need to be relocated, properly. And that's why the finished housing projects in Kenya should accommodate for such people. Unfortunately, when we made that law, we never took care of the poor. It is still a bourgeoisie issue. The poor of the poorest are not featuring anyone, yet they're the ones who vote the governments into power. So we need a balance, but most important, reorganize the budgets urgently, recall the National Assembly and Senate also to have an adjournment motion to make sure that the government is put on check on management of the crisis.
Indeed. And that's why I was asking, since we have an all-governments approach, and there is, of course, collection of money here or the disbursement of money, who will be held accountable?
Do you see,
who will be held accountable? I mean, which kitty is it going to? I mean, how can we see that, yes, there has been accountability of this money that is being disbursed, since you are at pains to tell me also who will appear before, the National Assembly to answer this question?
No, like
which minister?
When you are dealing with, things to do with the environment, land, and there's a minister who is in charge for that. So the whole of government approach.
Who is the minister?
The minister is Alice Wahome for lands.
But where is land really coming in?
It is, because that's where the planning is. That's where environment is.
We're talking about this disbursement of 10,000 shillings to, so that we know there's a 1 billion shilling that has been given out.
Let me say
how is it being doled out?
Let me say it this way, yeah?
We have donors who are coming in, also they're donating. How much money has been given, so that we can see this traceability of how this money is being disbursed. Because I know this is a spawning ground for corruption.
I agree with you that there's a loophole in terms of if we don't plug in the loopholes, we might have very serious corruption. But this is how the whole of government approach works. Okay, there are 4, maybe 5 ministers who are in one way or the other. Their departments are involved, so they will be combined together and there will be one person to chair that committee. So there's a committee, like now, as I'm talking to you, the disaster committee is chaired by the office of the deputy president. So if we are to say who is responsible, it is the chair. The office of the deputy president is chairing that national disaster committee, the coordination of that work. So if you want any person to come and answer for that, you saw that it was Kindiki who accompanied the president. So that means the office of the president, or the presidency, is the one that is answerable when it is coordinating various ministries. And as I've told you, it is the deputy president who is actually coordinating this effort to manage the disaster. But if we need to call any person to the Senate to answer questions, the person coordinating, as far as we know, is the deputy president. But the minister who will come to answer would be the minister in charge of internal security, because he's the one who is sitting in the OP, and by virtue of the whole of government approach, he would be coming to speak to us on those matters. So that should not be the issue. I think for me,
it should be the issue, because
let me tell you,
if we are to learn also from COVID-19,
the real issue that needs to be dealt with here is to plug in, and I think that is where we should be focusing. To plug in on this potential corruption that might occur, for me, and I hope those responsible are listening to this show, that we must use electronics, as much as possible. We must disburse, if it is funds, if it is organizing it must be through something that has little human interaction. I know, for example, that the 10,000 for the 40,000 households in Nairobi that is supposed to be given, their names were taken, the heads of those households were taken, and even your clip has shown that people who are being enumerated. So those phone numbers and the names, it should never be money should go to a person to distribute. The money should hit that phone number. And it is possible to be done. That money can leave Treasury, go to an account within the Safaricom, and Safaricom can disburse that money, of course at a charge, at a small fee. But it will be possible to do that without, if there is genuine intention, as it is now with the president, if there's genuine intention on the side of the officers who are executing that plan, that money should go to an individual who is impersonal, like a corporate like Safaricom. Then it should be disbursed to the affected individual. Then after that, we should have monitoring and evaluation. Then we will have sealed a very major loophole, so that we don't have fake names. We don't have leakages along the way. We should never handle cash. It should never be handled through cash, through any physical interaction with that money. So I urge those who are dealing with that matter to go electronic so that there's very little human interaction. And it should be at the press of a button that you can say, in this area of Nairobi, there are 10,000. And these are the names, and these are the recipients. And these are the messages from Safaricom confirming that the money has gone to that place. If we have use of electronics, then there will be less misuse of those funds. As for the 1 billion for reconstruction that the president has pledged, the same approach also should be used. We should have like a standard structure, so that we don't have people telling us, oh, the architect charged us this amount, or the quantity surveyors, or the contractor did this. We should have a standard amount that is given to every school, so that every school can then account, either for 2 classrooms or 1 classroom, or whatever it is that the officers who are in charge will decide. But standardization is the way to deal with this matter, so that we don't have people saying, no, this one, in our school, the architect charged us this amount of money. In our school, the contractor charged. So the reconstruction should be advertised and done in such a way that it is standardized. And I think it would be a good idea to involve the bodies that are regulating these professions, so that they can tell you, in our list of people that we can trust, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contractors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quantity surveyors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 architects. These ones, the amount we have agreed, the amounts to be charged is this amount. So the standard figure for reconstruction should be this amount. And the contractors must be told, if you are not able to do this work, leave it. Let other people who are able to do it at that cost. Because we don't want to make millionaires out of these emergencies. We want people to actually have a heart for donation, because these are not normal situations. Let us put our capitalistic hearts away and let us do a donation kind of thing, a service to our nation, so that we can all go through this until we normalize. Then we can go back to normal business. This is not normal business. And we pray that the people who are sitting down to plan this thing and to execute the directives will be honest men and women of God who will want to do a service, not to benefit. I mean, in the Law Society, for example, we have an agreed standard charge. If you're doing pro bono work for murder cases or for children, you are given a certain fee and there's no negotiation. You see, the judiciary allocates you something, which obviously takes forever to come, so many people don't like doing those briefs, but you are given a certain amount. So I think even other professions in this kind of emergency situation, they can allocate a standard fee, not a fee that makes even commercial sense, but a fee that says, I'm donating knowledge for this country to survive the difficult time, you know. And contractors also must be, controlled, so that it is not a situation where they will go for the kill in all these schools. Then this 1 billion will reach very far, and this 10,000 for 40,000 households will also go very far in terms of mitigating the situation now.
Because, as you say, there is a good salutary move that is coming from the government. But if we may learn, as I was mentioning, from also the COVID-19, the response was, at least the government came up with the COVID-19 response fund, so to speak, that was headed by Jen Karuko, right, if you may remember, of EABL. At least there was a face, and even if we wanted to make donations, we'll know this is the face and the board that now this donations is going to. As it stands right now, we don't know even when an agency wants to maybe make donations, where they should do it. It has not been published at all. Who is actually the figurehead that should be handling this particular donation as it stands, so that at least there is a face of accountability. Because when we say, oh, it is within the office, or it's an all-government approach, there's a committee, I know, that
is headed by the deputy president, and I can tell you that I can tell you that the donors are making, in fact, as I understand, 900 million has already been released from the donors.
900 million.
900 million, and there is also a government commitment for 10 billion. That is for the entire nation. Okay. It hasn't been released yet, but I can tell you,
this is information that needs to come to the public domain.
It will.
Yeah,
it will.
So that we're not just hearing there is 900 million that has been, and we can see it. We need to see, and that money how has it been disbursed.
Let me give you the information that the committee is already in place.
I agree.
This committee is being chaired by the deputy president, and the necessary information will be released. But I can tell you, donors are being mobilized to send in money there. The government is also pledging to put in money so that there can be quick response where there's need to be there's need to do that. So nobody is lost. In reality, the donors who come in to respond to emergency, they are well known. So you can always, and they are international donors. These are people who don't stand crap. You cannot, and in many occasions, if, for example, it's a rescue mission in Tana River County, they will send their own choppers there. They won't give you money to hire choppers. They will send their own. They will tell you, we'll need money for fueling. So again, when we are dealing with international donors, even when they say that we have pledged 900 million or we are going to give 900 million, it doesn't mean they're giving you cash. It will be probably the choppers, the more choppers from the World Food Program. And when you cost it, it will come to that amount. The fueling, they'll tell you, okay, government needs to fuel for us, but we are going to give you this instead of you hiring, so that you can reach those areas that you cannot access by road. Okay? We are going to give you non-food items like treated mosquito nets. Okay? They'll not give you the cash. They will say we are giving maybe 500,000 pieces. Those 500,000 pieces, it is them who will do the procurement. It is them who will do the delivery. And then, but they will cost it. They'll say, okay, we've done 100 million for Kenya government. So I'll tell you, for donors, I don't have too much worry in terms of expenditures. It is our own people, it is the government money, the Kenya GOK money that I have worries for. Because a lot of contractors, a lot of traders, they want to make a kill instead of helping people.
Right.
So we need proper systems there established. And if possible, to align it as much as possible with what the international donors are doing, because then there's less cost, less money lost if we have a system that, there's less money that is being handled by traders and individuals who are in these rescue operations.
So the question is, we have the Deputy President heading this particular committee.
Yeah.
And you say also you've seen the Ministry of Interior, headed by Kithuke Kindiki as well, Kindiki, who is the CS, accountable for it.
Yes.
We know that the Ministry of Interior runs a confidential account. Isn't it?
Well, they're given a budget.
Yes, but
they never break it down.
That's what I'm asking. You know they are running with a confidential...
The military.
Even the military, you had to amend the law that now also the spending of the military should be a confidential, because it's a security issue under Uhuru Kenyatta, so government. That's what I'm asking. He runs a confidential account.
It's not really a confidential.
But it is, you know, there is no. Let's not debate about it, because that's a fact. Yeah, it's very difficult.
It is just that there are some votes that come as a block, but they are not broken down so that there are issues of
that's what I'm saying.
Security.
It's still a confidential account.
No, when you say it's confidential, it sounds like there's money somewhere that someone... No, it's just that...
Exactly, that's how it is.
That is the truth.
That's the truth, and you know it. That is the truth. So I have a worry when we have a confidential account within a ministry and this money, or is the one which is handling this particular issue. If we had a special programs ministry, at least we'll have known this amount of money is going to this particular ministry, and there is this accountability.
We still have the Minister for East Africa, and that's the one dealing with the crisis also.
Yeah, the one of Malonza.
It's not really a problem. Is this special programs really?
Well, it hasn't come out.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really defined as a special programs minister as it stands, right? But you see my dilemma why it should not be under that particular ministry. Why? Or you don't see it.
I see.
Why do you want a special programs ministry? The person who deals
I'm just
with
saying,
that...
I'm not saying we want.
The
I'm just
person
saying,
who deals with the emergencies, it's a department. And that department is hosted in the Ministry of Arid, Semi-Arid, and it is headed by CS, and East African Community is also there. It's headed by CS Malonza. And the fact of the matter is, we cannot establish many ministries as we want. Even having these ones is a problem because Kenyans have given a constitutional
my idea is not
limit.
really to come up with. I'm just saying a definitive ministry that where there is accountability.
There is right now.
Dan Maanzo can help with
yes,
this. What I'm trying to raise, because I think also Mheshimiwa is totally denying the reality on the ground, which is this will be another spawning ground of corruption.
Yes, of course. I'll tell you what my experience. It is, first of all, very difficult to audit the military, and the military should also be part of the emergency rescue. There is also this team headed by the Deputy President and the Minister for Interior, and they should have a budget. It is true there is an undisclosed budget always under the Office of the Presidency, Office of the President, and the military, which, no one really edits. And even when Parliament calls, summons these departments to come on account, it becomes very difficult because if you are training soldiers, you would know how many bullets were used and how many were procured. That information really becomes tight. But the most important now on going forward is that the government now is going to have unusual expenditure. It's going to arrange its budget, and that unusual expenditure, which now is 10 billion shillings and about $1 billion, which is a donation in one way or another, should be accountable, should be able to serve the people. This is a time now we should have a serious watch on corruption. This is a time people use, to call the government. And one of the things I realize is in the construction of bridges and things like that, there was a lot of negligence. Engineers, our engineers should also, be able to do a perfect job because they are trained for that, and we have enough experts in the country who can do a good job. But it is a time now Parliament made sure that it supervised this exercise, and the people also should supervise this exercise. The people should keep this government on watch so that if it continues to make obvious mistakes and to make the people suffer and make empty promises, then the people should know it is time to send away such a government in the next election. So that in future you can have an accountable government which is accountable to the people. Accountability is a big issue when it comes to the current crisis we are in. And sometimes you won't know whether you have repaired the damage or not. And I believe now the rains are going to go down, so it is time to rebuild the nation, and it has to be built, it has to be done transparently. So I think the media, the people, Parliament,